thank you all of you for welcoming me. I'm Rachel, as Ernestina said, Director of Fast Training and Recruitment. I was one of the founding members and we set up the company in 1999. So I've really been an entrepreneur for over 12 years now. It's really in my heart and soul. I was one of the founders of speed dating here in Luxembourg. I don't know whether you knew that. But I did that really to contribute to a charity, and I'm involved in a lot of other charities as well. So that's something which is very dear to my heart. So I was really honoured to receive the award, particularly when the person who's organising the event, I think, is one of Luxembourg's great entrepreneurs. So if we can just put our hands together for Clara. So I thought, well, what on earth shall I talk about this evening? I'm very used to delivering training courses, but speaking in public is something quite different. So I thought, well, let me find out a little bit more about what inspiration is all about. So I got the Oxford English Dictionary out and had a look and tried to find out what inspiration actually meant. So according to the Oxford English Dictionary, inspiration is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something. So if you don't mind, because I'm a trainer at heart, if you could just close your eyes for 5 or 10 seconds, please, all of you, bear with me. Close your eyes for 5 or 10 seconds and think about who or what has inspired you in your life. So just think about that for 5 or 10 seconds. Inspiration comes in 3 areas. I think we have an inspiration from our childhood, and I'm going to call that inspirational core. I think we have inspiration from within, and I'm going to call that inspirational values or self-inspiration or our rules. And then I think we can take inspiration from the world, and that can be from any place, from anyone, or anything. So 3 rules for inspiration. So I'm going to share with you my inspiration in those 3 areas. So I'm going to start with my core inspiration. And I think my core inspiration, which came from my childhood, perhaps started when I was about 13. And unfortunately, my mum fell very seriously ill when I was about 13. And at the same time, my dad lost his job. What happened was the organisation where he was working said to him, you know, Alwyn, we want you to go to Aberdeen, which was in the north of Scotland, you know, far away from our home. And my dad said, well, you know, my wife is seriously ill. You know, I really don't think I can move to Aberdeen from where we are living. And the company said, OK, finish, you're fired. So at age 13, a very profound sort of state in anybody, I think that probably had quite an effect on me, and it probably made me think, you know, I don't want to be held by anyone or anything having control over me. I want to be in charge of my own destiny after what happened to my father. So I think my core inspiration comes from that, but you will all find your own personal core inspiration. So then if we move on to my second point, which I'm going to call the values or the inspirational rules. So what are my own values and what are my own inspirational rules? Well, I had to think about them. There are many, but the ones I've drawn out are, I think, first of all, we all need to recognise our weaknesses. I think that's really critical. And if you can recognise your weaknesses, then you can surround yourself with a great team who complement you and great partners. And I think that's vital. For me, what is very important is being very, very passionate and enjoying life. I think being authentic and humble. For me, I think giving back is really important. I like to give back, and I think, you know, if I could wave a magic wand, what I'd like to do in my own future is really give back to younger people. And one of the things I do at the moment is lecture and support young entrepreneurs in the UK. I think in life, prioritisation is important, and as Ernestina mentioned, I think it's so important to have a very stable family and home life, because without that, what's the point in having a successful business unless we have that core? I think continuing to learn is something that I'm really passionate about. Respect is something else I put down. I also think being sunny and being bright and enthusiastic, that's one of my core things, because life's too short not to be. And the final thing I've said, which my husband probably wouldn't agree with, don't do it for the money if you're going to be an entrepreneur. So they're my inspirational values or rules. So then we move on to the third thing. So we've talked about the inspirational core, which everyone will be different, and your inspirational values will for sure be very, very different. So then I thought about, well, what inspires me from the outside? Well, it can be friends, it could be my husband, it can be bosses that I've had, colleagues. So it's very, very, very personal. But certainly that inspiration from the outside, I think, has to cover three main areas. It has to pass on knowledge, it has to pass on emotion and feeling, and it has to make you act. So it's going back to that original definition of inspiration, the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something. So I thought, well, what's inspired me over the last couple of weeks? And it came in a very strange guise. Could you put up your hand if you've ever heard of Harry Potter? Can you put up your hand if you've heard of Harry Potter? Who has not heard of Harry Potter? Who has not heard of Harry Potter? Somebody didn't put up their hand over there. Have you heard of Harry Potter? You've heard of Harry Potter. So I was sat watching the TV with my daughter. She's 5.5 years old. And I was watching Harry Potter. And what was incredible is that during the course of watching the 4 movies, because we're up to the 4th movie now, so I know them pretty well. I know them inside out. That there's been a few quotes or things in those films which I can honestly say has truly inspired me. So I'd like to share them with you this evening. So listen, and listen carefully. I shall say it only once. Number 1, Dumbledore said to Harry, "It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live." The second one, this is Dumbledore saying to Harry, "It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default." Like them? Yeah. So I'm going to leave you with my final Harry Potter quote. Listen, and listen very carefully. I shall say it only once. This is my favourite. I love it. Listen. "It is our choices." This is Dumbledore to Harry. I'll breathe before I say it, because I love it. "It is our choices, Harry, that show us who we truly are, so much more than our abilities." So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.